Welcome back. Egypt's tradition of Orphi marriage leaves thousands of children, almost always girls, undocumented. But Hind El Hennawi refused to accept this as her daughter's fate, and thanks to her efforts, the law was changed. Now the court can insist on men taking paternity tests and acknowledge their responsibilities. Let's see how she did it.
Heba's dream is to go to her local school.
I want to be a doctor or a teacher. My brothers are at school and the older ones work. It's only me who's got nothing to do. I get very upset when someone asks me what year I'm in, and I have to say, I'm not at school.
3 generations of Heba's family live in her tiny house. Her father claims he has been too preoccupied to worry about registering his daughter.
When I went to the bakery that day, it caught fire. All my clothes and my papers were burnt that day.
And it appears registering daughters has not been the custom in this community for a while, as Heba's mother shows.
I'm not registered either. When I went to register, they asked me for a birth certificate, and I said I didn't have one. And then they asked me for my marriage certificate. I said I don't have one. Well, they said, that won't do.
For Heba's generation, the work of social workers like these offer girls a ray of hope.
ما كانتش مدركة إن عدم تسجيلها هيخليها ما تنفعش تطلع شهادة محو أمية.
She wasn't even aware of the problem when she came to join our illiteracy program. We asked her for papers, and she told us that she doesn't have any papers. Since then, we've been trying to get her a birth certificate so she can be registered.
But Heba doesn't even know the exact date she was born.
I don't know anything. All I know is that I was born in the year 1993.
Under pressure, her father says he'll follow up the necessary paper trail and finally register her.
God willing, on Saturday, I'll go to the registration office and follow it up.
Hind has the money to hire a lawyer to fight her case. They decided to ask the court to force El Fishawi to take a DNA test to prove paternity. The court agreed. But it turned out that the court didn't have the jurisdiction to enforce the DNA test, and Ahmed El Fishawi refused to take it. Hind's father was deeply disappointed.
We don't have law that says clearly how paternity can be proved. The law says nothing about that, and it leaves it completely to the judge based on his views and his understanding of religious instructions.
But all was not lost. Hind's case caused such public outrage that the ripples reached Parliament. An amendment was tabled to enforce DNA testing in paternity cases, with refusal to comply being a punishable offence. It's a step in the right direction for either parent to register their child.
The law is really going to change because of my case. And I really didn't think that it will change that fast.
Perhaps unsurprisingly, Heba's father has still not registered his daughter. She may in the end be lucky, but many thousands of others will be left waiting.
I'm joined now by Dr. Wafiq Mustafa, who's the chairman of the Egyptian Community Association here in London. Welcome to the programme, Dr. Mustafa. As the film made clear, Orfi marriages are on the increase amongst young people in Egypt. Now, why would a young person in modern Egypt resort to something like that?
The issue behind it is frustration. They have to wait many years to get married. The living standards are very high, and nobody can afford to have a marital home. The families, I mean, I know, I'm from that society, the families ask for a very high dowry, which several years' income for a graduate, let alone someone with lower income.
But do young people also enter into Orfi marriages because the punishment if they're caught in an adulterous relationship could be very, very bad for them?
Oh yes, if someone caught in an adulterous relationship in Egypt, he can be imprisoned. It's a very big thing in Egypt, although it takes place behind closed doors. But fortunately enough, they say having sex, you have to be witnessed by 4 people, which is practically impossible. But merely to be with a girl in a room on your own, police can take action against the person and against the girl. So lots of times they would result say we are Orfi marriage, common law marriage.
Right.
It's basically an excuse, cover-up for a relationship.
Right. This case in the film of this young woman, Hind, was quite an explosive case in Egypt. I mean, when you talk to your family, your relatives, your friends, was everybody talking about it? Was it in the gossip columns? Was it as celebrated as was clear in the film?
I think it is a very important issue, but it was a typical example of tokenism in Egypt, where such an important topic quickly was hushed up and brushed under the carpet. The girl would have had an abortion, but this time she didn't. She was a victim, more or less, because she was labeled as too liberal, too loose, and really, I would say, she quite probably stigmatized in society.
And what about the child? I mean, in the eyes of the rest of Egyptian society, was the child stigmatized along with the mother?
Oh yes, they are really very stigmatized. They don't have rights. They have a messy birth certificate where they say they're bastard. They usually escape from the villages or the towns to go to other town. They live like fugitives. They probably suffer from depression. Unfortunately, in a country of 75 million, there is no statistics or no study to show how many people, which I could imagine in tens of thousands. It's a very big number.
This woman was ostracized from society because she spoke out about what happened. Why do you think it's so hard for women, despite all the changes that have taken place in Egypt, to fight for their rights or fight for, you know, having recognition from the courts on issues like this?
Well, one thing, because women are always considered as a second-class citizen. They don't have rights. They can't even ask for divorce. The law itself is unfair, unjust, and there's no equality in the law as far when it comes to women. And it's actually, they say that keeps the family together, but I don't think so. It causes a lot of unhappiness.
Do you think attitudes in Egypt are changing in any way?
No, I don't think so. What we see an outwardly change, but inside there's no change. If anything, people are becoming more conservative, more reactionary, and there's no proper role models to follow. That's, if you could say, it's the same what reflected in London, in Europe, it's the same in the Middle East.
On that note, thank you very much for coming to talk to us, Dr. Wafiq Mustafa. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it for now, but join me next time for another edition of Witness.